The question was inevitable, wasn't it? Now that the MCU's first 3 phases centering around Thanos and the Infinity Gems has finally wrapped up, the big question is rather obvious. Who's going to take the Mad Titan's place? It can't just be anyone, after all. Well, it can, but I don't want it to be someone boring. The big bad of the next however many phases it takes to put them in the dirt Marvel villain has to be something special. Someone who can take on the entire MCU and still have a solid chance of coming out on top. Fortunately, the Marvel Universe has more than enough big bads that can do exactly that. You know, the kind that can crush our souls like Thanos did at the start of Infinity War. And here come the flashbacks. Oh dear God, Loki, you were too young for this world. So, I'm Ewan, this is What Culture, and here are 10 insanely powerful villains who could be the new Thanos. Number 10, The Maker. So, Reed Richards went crazy and tried to kill everyone. You hear that? The void of nothingness, that's the shattering quiet of no one being shocked. Not to digress too heavily, of course, the difference here is that 616 Reed has been through enough humbling experiences to temper his ego enough so that he doesn't go completely over to the dark side. Ultimate Reed Richards, though? Nah, not so much. Anyway, convinced his universe is a bore, Reed, now calling himself the Maker, and decked out in a snazzy xenomorph-looking helmet, decides to leave to find a more interesting universe, after destroying his own. Because he'd be a rather poor villain if his motivation stopped at needing a vacation. We have this guy to thank for rebooting the entire Marvel Universe and merging it with the Ultimate Universe. So yeah, kind of a big deal. With the MCU now introducing the multiverse, as well as finally getting the rights to the Fantastic Four, it would definitely be cool to see a villain who completely embodies the idea of different universes and experiences. After the Fantastic Four make their debut, of course. Number 9, Emma Frost. In the world of the X-Men, there are tons of villains to choose from when looking for a big bad. Now, there are other, more obvious candidates out there, but one thing I really want to see is an evil Rosamund Pike Emma Frost who, after starting out as the White Queen of Evil, eventually turns to the X-Men over time. She's just too good to be just evil after all. Emma is an interesting case, mostly because her allegiances shift about as frequently as Jean Grey's, and often just as abruptly. Sometimes she's a die-hard member of the X-Men and loyal to their cause. Other times, she's a careful, patient manipulator, able to play all sides of none of them the wiser. And sometimes she's just another weapon in a bigger bad's arsenal. But fans tend to prefer it when she's going her own way with her own agenda. So, if the MCU were to adapt her, that's definitely the route they should take. A mutant with her own motives and goals, willing to play anyone to get what she wants. Different from Thanos in all the right ways. Number 8, Nimrod. So, with the idea that I may be about to impart a hefty dose of comics jargon for those who don't read comics, here's the deal with Nimrod, at least according to House of X, the latest Marvel series to galvanize the X-Men, which may also be the best comic of the year. Currently, the X-books are addressing the inevitability of human-on-mutant genocide. It's a recurring theme of the comics, and so is dystopian futures as far as the X-Men are concerned. Without getting too bogged down in the intricacies of the plot, go check out What Culture Comics for more of that, we basically learn that the Sentinel program always leads to something known as a Nimrod, a horrifically powerful machine that leads Robo Superior against Homo Superior and Homo Sapien. Jonathan Hickman's comic is effectively laying the blueprint for how to introduce the X-Men to the MCU, and have them rallying against a threat like Nimrod will be the perfect way of not only divesting from what the Fox series did, but in charting a new exciting territory for the characters as well. Number 7, Magus. What better way to follow up the Infinity War saga than with its canonical sequel, which is also called Infinity War, confusingly. Anyway, the villain of the original Infinity War storyline was a baddie called Magus, an evil version of Marvel hero Adam Warlock. Considering that we're very likely to see Adam Warlock make an appearance in Guardians 3, it would make sense to eventually introduce Magus as well. This is a baddie that took the entire Marvel universe teaming up with Thanos to defeat, and even then there was a lot of luck involved. A perfect candidate for the next MCU big bad. Number 6, Mephisto. Now that Doctor Strange is well and truly established in the MCU, the next big bad magical baddie has got to be Mephisto. For those not in the know, Mephisto is the literal devil, at least as far as the Marvel Universe is concerned. He's definitely close enough to the true blue devil to make any difference irrelevant. He's basically unkillable, he's one of the most powerful higher beings in the Marvel canon, he loves him some Faustian bargains, as any Spider-Man fans who are foaming at the mouth right now will tell you, and like the classic stories of the devil, he isn't so much killed as he is thwarted or outsmarted. Unless you're a godlike being like Thanos was in Infinity Gauntlet, there's no real way to kill him. As such, dealing with a problem you can't just punch and make go away would be an amazing foe for the next generation of Marvel heroes, especially if you assemble a supernatural coalition of Doctor Strange, Blade, Ghost Rider, and Moon Knight, making your own Moon Knight Sons. Number 5, the Shiar Empire. It's only a matter of time before the MCU's version of the X-Men get back around to the Dark Phoenix saga. It might take a bit, probably in the next phase or so, but that saga is so ingrained in the X-Men narrative that it's impossible to ignore. Hopefully they actually get it right this time, because, Dark Phoenix had approximately 20 seconds worth of enjoyable content, and you're goddamn right it was the stuff with Dazzler. One crucial part that they need to get right are the Shiar Empire, the ones that kick off the whole shebang to begin with. The Shiar is a collection of worlds and species that all march under the banner of the Shiar. As such, there are a ton of varied and interesting characters that work with them. Therein lies the idea. What if, instead of just the X-Men having to deal with this, the other heroes recognize the threat the Shiar represent and all have to pitch in? So, instead of one big bad, it's an entire empire of smaller big bads introduced in different movies, all coming together to reveal that they all work for the same guys. Then you have potential for more cosmic wars, especially if we retain the Kree and the Skrulls as a force too. Number 4, Annihilus. Okay, so you've seen Thanos. Now meet the fella that caused Thanos to put aside his conquest for just 1 second in order to fight for his own survival. Yeah, he's that big a doozy. Annihilus was first introduced by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in Fantastic Four Annual Number 6, but only really cut the mustard at the beginning of the century, laying waste to pretty much everyone and everything during the aptly titled Annihilation event. So, what's his deal? Well, Annihilus is the leader of the Negative Zone, a vast space comprised of his vast legions. He leads them as a literal wave, and engulfs most of the cosmos in an invasion during the events of Annihilation, only to be bested by a cosmic coalition comprised of Star-Lord, the Silver Surfer, and our next candidate. Number 3, Galactus. One of the biggest benefits of having the Fantastic Four back is the fact that this means we also have all the weirdest hell cosmic stuff associated with them back as well, including the one that started it all. Galactus, the Devourer of Worlds. This guy is exactly what his title promises. He's a godlike being who wanders the universe looking for worlds to devour. Not out of any malice, Galen likely isn't even capable of holding a slight grudge against something as small in comparison to his majesty as a human, it's just that he's hungry, insatiably so, and what he eats are the various minerals and materials that just so happen to make habitable planets. Seeing him show up in the MCU would be interesting because, unlike Thanos, he's not doing this out of some insane dogma. He's doing this because he's hungry, and thus can be potentially convinced to leave or driven off by making Earth just not worth the trouble. However, while Thanos wanted to become a god, Galactus actually is one. So fighting him would likely be seen by the heroes as a last resort. Number 2, Magneto. Most fans speculated that Marvel were going to give it a bit before introducing the X-Men into the MCU because of how long we'd spent with the Fox X-Men universe. Well, turns out that's not happening, so we may as well wonder when Magneto is going to show up. Magneto is one of the most fascinating villains in the Marvel Universe, and a perfect candidate for the next big bad. He's charismatic, runs an entire nation, has insane superpowers, and genuinely believes he's doing the right thing. But unlike Thanos, he actually has a leg to stand on. When people are building giant killer robots to genocide the crap out of you and your entire people, and you have the power to stand up and say, no, you don't get to do that, it's easy to see doing any less than what Magneto does as pure cowardice. He's ultimately the villain, yeah, but he also isn't entirely wrong. Either way, the MCU will have a tough act to follow in matching the chemistry of Sir Patrick Stewart and fellow knight Ian McKellen. Maybe Ray Fiennes and Daniel Craig could do the job. And number 1, Dr. Goddamn Doom. Ultimately, there was only one choice who would be the absolute best choice to replace Thanos going forward as the new big bad of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The one, the only, Victor Von Doom. What makes Doom such an amazing villain, even with all the badass competition we've seen thus far, is that he's still written like a Silver Age supervillain. Almost all of his dialogue are these big bombastic speeches. His ego is big enough to support 3 water parks, and all he wants is to take over the world. He also refers to himself entirely in the third person, and if that isn't a flex big enough to intimate his credentials as the comic book medium's greatest ever villain, well, I don't know what is. The reason he's written this way is because he can back up every inch of his talk. He is exactly as smart, as powerful, and as larger than life as he portrays himself to be, which, after the more subdued menace of Thanos, who maybe raised his voice 3 times in all his appearances, would be a fantastic juxtaposition. Doom runs his own nation and is actually really good at it. He has an army of soldiers, scientists, and spies working for him. He's on the United Nations, so the heroes can't just go kick his ass willy-nilly, and he always has at least 3 evil plans for world conquest running at one time. Do setups honestly get any better than that?
Hello YouTube, we're turning things up to 11 with the launch of What Culture Music.
It's our brand new channel featuring all those lists you just can't get enough of, including creepy hidden messages in your favourite pop songs.
As well as radio-friendly songs that detail literal murder. That's as well as Chatty Faces, where we get personal with you on our sordid musical tastes, in-depth discussion podcasts, and we're even doing quality fun stuff like tournaments and quizzes too.
There's going to be something for everybody, so come on over and make some sweet music with us.
Or just watch the videos, that works too.
Like, share and subscribe at the link below, and we will see you there.
Bye.
And that was our list. What Marvel villain do you think is big enough to replace Thanos? Shout out your suggestions in the comments below, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the vid. In the meantime, you can check out more articles like this on whatculture.com, more of me on Twitter at YouMruinsThings, and more comics-based content at What Culture Comics. Bye!